Hey, it's Jay from Pacific Northwest Sports. Hope you enjoy the newest podcast. If you ever want a wall like mine, please check out Green Gridiron. They're an amazing company capable of making any of the helmets you see or any helmet you can imagine. Their link is below and the QR code is right here. As always, you can check us out on any of our social medias. Enjoy! All right, I am here with Coach Bill Templeton over with Pacific Northwest Christian College. How are you doing today, Coach?
Wonderfully. Thanks for asking.
Of course. So, there's a college, there's JUCO football back in the Pacific Northwest, back in Washington after a 42-year hiatus. How did that come to fruition?
It's kind of been just a lifetime of relationships and things coming together, and it really is amazing that it's back. I want to tell everybody that CBC, I think it was 78 or 79, Columbia Basin College won the national championship when Clint Didier was there. My understanding is Walla Walla Community College still had a team, maybe even the late 90s. You might want to double check that, but I think it was the late 90s. We've just had a need, and this past about a year and a half ago, our president, Bob Nash, was at a conference and heard about a community college down in LA who started a football program and helped them kind of get out of COVID and so on. And we needed a boost, and football was it. And my goodness, I think right now, I've talked about 3 or 4 players just today. I think we're going to be about 75 or 80 players coming into our year 2.
That is amazing. I know last year was a big turnaround. Getting a football program started is always a tough thing. And I kind of want to rewind back to the beginning with you, and we'll slowly go on this journey. So, Kennewick Lions as a kid, you always knew you wanted to go there, and you ended up going there. What was it like playing for them?
Yeah, well, I'll even go back a little bit further than that. I found my passion and love for football when I was a grade schooler in northern Idaho. I lived in a trailer park, and there were 2 high schoolers and a middle schooler. I was like 3rd or 4th grade, and we played 2-on-2 at a little grassy area in the trailer park, and from the morning till night. And they taught me, and I just got a passion for it. I was a huge Seahawks fan. Got a chance to meet Steve Largent this past March at a Boys and Girls Club deal. At a garbage can when I was 10 years old. I got it from a gift from my aunt, and Steve Largent signed that thing for me 50 years later or so. So it's pretty cool. So amazing. Anyway, that was my passion started with football. When I was a young man, middle schooler, we moved down to the Tri-Cities, and I fell in love with the sport even more so. Ed Troxel, who was the head football coach at the University of Idaho before he came to Kennewick High School, was my head coach. And so I was in 5th grade when I was first introduced to athletic development camp, those sort of things during the summer. Saw what a program could and should look like. Got more of a passion for the game, and Kennewick football back in the 80s was just amazing. Coach Troxel was doing bigger, faster, stronger weightlifting stuff back in the 50s and 60s. And so we were kind of cutting edge in the 80s even, and he had been doing it for 30 plus years. So
that's awesome. So you were there, you ended up graduating in 87.
Correct. Yeah, we had a very good team. We ended up losing to Gonzaga Prep in double overtime in the quarterfinals that year. Ron Hawkins was their quarterback, some other guys. Lost in double overtime. They went on to win the state championship by 40, 50 points. So we were part of a quality team. I got some personal accolades, and this will play into the Christian College here in just a second. Ended my senior year, but just kind of felt empty. You know, I had committed to football, and quite honestly, it was kind of my God, my passion, my time, my sacrifices, all that. I felt a little empty at the end of that. I was fortunate enough to receive a full ride scholarship to Montana State University. And that hole was still there, but I'm gonna go play some ball and see what that's about. Well, I was now a tackling dummy, and I still had that hole in my heart. Anyway, a guy by the name of Joel Long was on the football team at Montana State, shared Jesus with me, and that's where the Christian part comes in now. And it's been a lifetime of football and Jesus, so it's been pretty cool.
That's amazing. And you were at Montana State for all 4 years?
Yeah, I ended up being there 5 years. I redshirted my first year. Kind of a fun fact, my first college game, my redshirt first game, we went down and played the Florida Gators when Emmitt Smith was there. Pretty cool. Had around 70,000 people chanting Gator bait. A little intimidating, but just a great experience. So
that's amazing. Are there any other fun stories over there when you're at Montana State? Anything memorable?
Well, I will say this: if you're from Bozeman, they call it the Cat Grizz game. If you're from Missouri, it's the Grizz Cat game. But somewhat in the state of Washington, if you're a Coug fan, you might root for the Huskies a little bit here or there, maybe. Okay, in Montana, you are one or the other. And I tell people there was more action in the stands than there was on the field sometimes, but those were fun experiences. So
I think that's referred to as the brawl in the backyard now.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, and it's no joke.
That's good. So Big Sky football was fun for you, and you enjoyed that.
Yep.
And then it says here, if I'm not mistaken, you ended up going back to the Tri-Cities to be at Pasco as a teacher, but also as a coach.
Sure. Yes. John Morgan hired me. My father-in-law was the head coach at Kamiakin High School for 25 years, Craig Beverlin. And Craig had me send out resumes to every middle school and high school in the Tri-Cities when I was still getting my master's in Pullman. My wife had a year left after we got married. Anyway, sent all those out, and John Morgan returned my letter, actually called me within a week or so, and I ended up there. Ray Reynolds, a legendary principal. He was a 4-star, 5-star general before he was a principal, but things were tidy at Pasco High, I'll tell you. Enjoyed my 7 years there. Was an assistant coach on a state championship team in '98. Enjoyed that, and then I kind of got the itch to be a head coach.
And so that itch, it brought you over to Riverview, excuse me.
Correct.
And what was that? What made you have the itch, and what made you go, I'm ready for this next step?
Sure. My wife still jokes with me sometimes. By the way, we are celebrating our 31st wedding anniversary on August 15th. So happy anniversary, Kelly. I love you. I told her when I think I can be an assistant coach and love teaching here at Pasco High for 30 years. And then I'll retire and go, well, kind of fast forward, I'll get to the Riverview thing here in just a second, the itch, that sort of thing. I found out during COVID, even more so, that I can't sit around. My yard looked really good. I did a lot of yard work, but quite honestly, I had to find things to do. We have I wouldn't say a mountain, but we call it Badger Mountain. It's about an hour hike. I had to have goals. So I ended up climbing Badger Mountain 150 times in 2020, just because I had to have something going on. So that's in me. I don't know where it came from, whatever, but that's in me. So back up a little bit to Pasco High School. I just felt like it was time to do something. Again, I'd had my father-in-law, I'd had Coach Ed Troxel, really both of them show me how programs are supposed to be ran, and we were very successful at Pasco before I left. It just was a time for me to go out and dabble. So,
and then you go to Riverview, and you were there for 2 years. What did you learn at Riverview as a first-time head coach?
Well, I will say this: that players matter. When we went there, our quarterback was Brett Jay, who is now the head football coach at Moses Lake High School. Brett was a junior. We had him both his junior and senior year, and we won a lot of football games, and he threw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. So now with that said, being at a smaller school like that, you learn to be creative. You might have a 170-pound guard, but he's going to be a tough little guy, and find ways, like Pete would say, is work towards your players' their strengths, and that's what we try to do out there. We find ways to put players in the best way possible for them.
And what was success looking like over there? Was there a lot of wins? Was there building a program
that
left better after you?
There were a lot of wins, and again, I think it comes down to first and foremost having a great quarterback. Having a great quarterback. Also, by that junior group over there, we had 20 seniors when their second year, which for I think we were Division A at that time. That's quite a few. And whenever you have senior leadership, you're going to be all right. They just have a different perspective, and for whatever reason, Coach Troxel used to talk about this. The metamorphosis from their junior to senior year is just amazing. Just grow up a little bit, you get the idea.
Interesting. So you do 2 years there, and then
Yes.
you return to Kennewick. How did that come to fruition?
Good question. Well, I'd heard rumblings that the head coach at the time was going to step down. And my father-in-law was still the head coach at Kamiakin at the time. And so he had heard things around the district that my name had popped up a little bit. And when you have a chance to go back to your alma mater, you take it. And there's some very wonderful people who just blessed me. There's also challenges. I had a name around East Kennewick at the time, or from my high school days and playing in college. And people have expectations, and you don't always fulfill them the way they want. But we built some cool things at Kennewick High. Had some playoff teams. Kind of an interesting story is our first year, Kennewick hadn't won a game for a couple of years, so on, and so we win one game. We went up to Eisenhower and squeaked one out. The kids were crying. One kid said, "I hadn't won a game, and I've been playing since 7th grade." So anyway, so we win that year, win that one game. The following year, we were 1-8 or 1-9 again, but we were much better. We were competing, and I think I heard Lou Holtz talk about that in an interview one time. That when you're building a program, first year you teach them how to work. Second, third year you're teaching them how to compete, and then hopefully you do some winning later on. And our third year we made the playoffs, lost to Gonzaga Prep up there 17-14. And they went on and made it to the semifinals and lost by 1 to the eventual state champion. So we got better. We had some over the next 10 years. We competed. Sometimes we were towards the top of the league. Other times we're in the middle, just kind of depending on the ebb and flow of things. But we worked hard and tried to do the best we could, and we had some success.
Impressive. And so you stay at Kennewick for 17 years, and you have success. You have some lows, of course, and then you step away.
Yeah.
Why'd you step away?
Thank you for asking me. It's an interesting question. We left the cupboards full at Kennewick High when we left. Miles Majowski, I don't know if you know him. He had a very good career here at Kennewick High School. He was a freshman my last year. There's a couple things. First of all, our 2 youngest sons joined us in 2010. They spent the first part of their childhood in Ethiopia, and we adopted them. And kind of a fun story there. In the adoption process, we had to go to Ethiopia twice, and the second time we had to get embassy things taken care of in Addis Ababa, which is the capital city. So we were at the mercy of our government and their government. So it's literally the 9th game of the season, and we get the call, and we got to go. So it's the only game I've ever missed as a head coach. but got on the plane, flew there. Well, my brother-in-law, Zen in Thornton, was doing a podcast of all the high school games here in the Tri-Cities. So my wife and I were woken up to the Muslim call of worship in Addis Ababa, like at 5 a.m. We got online, and I listened to the Kennewick Lions beat the Pasco Bulldogs, 11 hours, half a world away. It was pretty cool. So anyway, back to why I ended up stepping down from Kennewick. My two younger children needed a dad more than they needed a head coach. Above and beyond that, my oldest child, my daughter, has battled Crohn's disease since she was in 5th or 6th grade, and she was just really having some health problems, and we needed to focus there. And then my son AJ, he was our quarterback both his junior and senior year, and he broke his ankle at the beginning of his junior year and separated his shoulder at the beginning of his senior year. So it was a kind of a gut shot, and that was my last year at Kennewick. I just needed lots of life issues, specifically with my children, that I just needed to focus in on them and get things going. He, by the way, is now playing up at Whitworth, and we are their first game this year. We're going up there, so he's gonna play strong. He's starting at strong safety, and I'll be calling plays against him. So that'll be something.
We gonna be picking on him a little bit in the back?
I might get divorced, not of my choosing. If I do, we'll have fun with it. He's a good player, and I expect him to play hard, and his dad's going to compete too. We never want to give him the easy way out there.
That's good. You want to compete always. That's impressive.
Yeah.
So you take some time off, and that was 2018, correct? That was your last year at Kennewick?
Yes. My last fall was 2018. Yes.
So you take some time off, you're being a dad, you're doing all the good things, and then you end up getting how does this come to fruition in terms of the JUCO? You get told, like, hey, we're starting up a college, we're starting up a football team, we want you to come over here. How did that work?
Exactly like you just said. So my wife had been working at the college for 6 months or a year by then. And it's now called Pacific Northwest Christian College. It used to be called Gather for Him Christian College. And we got that changed about 1.5 years ago. So right at the end of COVID, we went through the accreditation process, and we got the .edu, which means we're nationally accredited, so on, which also means that we could do sports teams. So put that in your back of your mind there. So 2 falls ago, my wife and the president and some other administrators went to a convention, I think in St. Louis. And lo and behold, our president sat right back next to a president from the only other 2-year Christian college on this side of the Mississippi. And the guy went through hey, we started a football program. It really helped our school out, so on. So that was late October, early November. Bob comes back and presents that to me. Hey, what do you think about starting a football program? Well, my only hesitation, quite honestly, at the time is that I was going to miss my son's junior and senior year at Whitworth. Last year, and eventually I said yes, and we got that going. But last year I got to see most of his games, and this year we get his first game. We get to watch him, and then if things make out or work out the way we'd like them, I'll get to see their Linfield game at the end of the year, and hopefully we beat those guys and they make the playoffs and all that, and then hopefully any playoff games. Anyway, Bob presents this to the board a month and a half later. This is, I'm going to say, January 10th or something. They approve it, and in 8 months we had 47 players. We got on the field late last August, played 7 games. Our record ended up being 3-4. We could have easily been 6-1. We lost to Pacific by 5. These are their JV teams, or their non-travelers. Pacific by 5, George Fox by 3, and we had a barn burner against Eastern Oregon. We lost 49-47, I think it was, and had our shot in all 3 of those losses. Whitworth, but quite honestly, they curb stomped us pretty good, and that was, but that's another story. So that happens sometimes.
So son has bragging rights currently over dad.
Yes, but he's a very humble young man, so he won't be doing that, I would imagine.
If he knows what's good for him, right?
Yeah, there.
So you said you brushed over and you said, well, I ended up taking the job. Give us some more meat on that. What were those conversations like with the wife? What was the conversation like with the president? And what really made you say, I want to go back to coaching? Because you were so into dad mode for a long time, and COVID hit, and you said you were restless and you had to hike Badger Mountain 150 times. But what really brought back that? There's my brother's old coach, excuse me. He always said, whenever football season comes around, I get this itch where I have to be up and I have to be coaching. I have to be doing something, even though he's been retired for 10 plus, 15 plus years now. But he's like, I can't help it. Are you that same type of way? Is that really what ignited that fire again?
Sure. I'll address that, and then I'll talk specifically about what got me going again. So yes, I was off for 2 or 3 years there, and some of my friends would laugh at me because we'd be at a graduation party and we're playing cornhole, and I'm, hey, got to bend your knees a little bit more, and encouraging, so on. There you go. So yeah, that's part of it. To my core, this is the reason I got back into it. I was a coach and have been a coach who in high school I've always taught the character stuff and so on, and very, very important to me. We'd have pizza things after game or after practices, and we talked about character, those sort of things. Again, I became a Christian my first year at Montana State University, and I didn't want to just talk about character anymore. I wanted to talk about Jesus, the person behind, the God behind that character. Our young people deal with so much today, and to me, they need hope. We have so much conflict between all different groups, political, cultural, whatever it might be, and I just think that the Lord gives us that hope. I also have a strong desire to help knuckleheaded 18 to 22-year-olds. That I don't know if you know Darren Pointer. He played for the Cougs. His aunts were actually the Pointer sisters. He's a friend of ours. My brother-in-law and he are very good friends. But Darren played not only football in college, but he also played pro baseball. I think he made it to AA. But he told me once that one of his coaches said, hey, this 18 to 22-year-old time of your life is where you build the foundation for who you're going to be for the rest of your life. So this Christian background, this desire to help young men is where we are. And that is ultimately what pushed me over the top. I tell all my recruits this, guys, I have 4 goals for you. Number 1, I want you to have an opportunity to ask and discuss and think about the bigger questions of life. The why are we here stuff. And quite honestly, at a Christian college, we're going to talk about Jesus, and whatever you do with that, that's between you and the Lord. But we think that is the way, and there's some hope for you. So that's number 1. Big question. Number 2, we want you to get a 2-year degree. That's going to help you with that launching pad that we talked about into the rest of your life. Number 3, we want you to get that degree with very little or no debt. The need for a 2-year, a small school like us right now is this. In the Tri-City area, we have some very good football players. But we're talking Pac-12 guys, maybe 1 or 2 every 3, 4, 5 years.
Yep.
Okay. Then Big Sky guys, we might get 4 or 5 around here. And then a Whitworth and other private schools, we're talking $55,000 a year. Yes, and there's always scholarships, but still, it's 20, 30,000 a year. That's 100,000, 120,000 at the end of the deal. Right now, our tuition's 11,000, and after FAFSA and scholarships, and if kids apply for scholarships at our school, and they get money, no matter. The average our kids are playing is right at 4,000. So that helps our goal there. So we have the big questions, education, no debt, and then finally, I want them to enjoy, as long as they can, the greatest sport ever invented. I joke around, but it's true. You got big guys, little guys, knuckle draggers, intellects, you name it. They are playing the game of football, and it is beautiful, and they get a chance to do it for a couple more. So,
damn near just brought a tear to my eye with how passionate you are about it. That is
again, that's what brought me back. That is in a nutshell what we're trying to do here.
That is amazing, and I don't think that gets talked about enough. The mission of what coaches are trying to do. So you've had the fortunate ability where you were at Riverview, you got to set a foundation. You went back to Kennewick, and from what I'm understanding, they didn't necessarily have the best years before you, and so you had to set a foundation again. Now you're over here, you have to set a foundation. What is at the core when people go to play your teams after the games? What are the things that you want coaches and players to take away and say, wow, he does it right. This is at the base of his program.
Very good. I love that you used the word foundation. My dad ran a couple construction companies for most of my childhood. And I tell our players, I go, fellas, here's the deal. You are building the foundation of this program, and quite honestly, of the school. And as you're building the foundation, and the foundation, like you watch road construction, it takes months or years. It doesn't look like anything's happened all of a sudden, and then in the last 3 days, they put the mat on top. But it's all that foundational stuff where things get frustrating, you get your knuckles bloody, all those things. So thank you for bringing up foundation. We want to play with passion. We want our kids to know that if you're a starter or not, you have value. Something that we did last year is before each practice started, we have a player get up and tell their story. It might be, and we try to keep it about 5 minutes, but where are you from? What are the highlights so far of your life? And what do you struggle with? And the struggles, at first, the guys weren't all that keen at sharing those. But it's not just to say, woe is me or anything like that. It's like, you know what? We all have stuff. We have issues over. Let's do this together. Let's come together and build each other up. Because again, there's a lot of goofiness in our society, and people telling us that this group doesn't belong with this group, and this group hates this group. Hey, I've told lots of our players, hey, I wish this is how society could be. Because we'll get after each other. I mean, part of iron sharpening iron is, hey, dude, let's get this figured out. You're better than that. And that's one thing that Coach Trox always told me or taught me is if he was going to confront you, it wouldn't be, hey, Bill, that's my name. Bill, you did this wrong. Or, usually attitudinal stuff. He would say, hey, you're better than that. He would always set the vision for something higher than where you were hanging out. So, talking about after games, how we want them to view us, kind of a story and the messiness of all what we're doing here. So we ended up playing a club team last year out of Lewis and Clark State twice, and we asked beforehand, hey, can we pray after the game? And so both teams came, and great, we prayed. Well, the second game, we were going to pray again. We shook hands and all that, and get ready to go over and pray. Well, I'm not going to say which team did this or that, but team started talking trash, and we ended up getting a fight. That's not quite the prayer that we wanted, but we are in a messy place. Relationships are messy. I tell kids, guys, Christians should be the toughest dudes on the field. You go knock somebody, Mike Singletary, you look at those eyeballs and the way he played, Steve Largent, those guys. And not all of our kids are Christian. And quite honestly, I would say maybe 5 or 10 would really say, I'd say are following the Lord, that sort of thing. But they know they are loved, and they know that there's something about what we're doing. A lot of them will say, Coach, I love the vibe around here. I go, oh yeah, that's the Holy Spirit. It's vibe, Holy Spirit. Maybe not the same. Maybe I'm blaspheming now, but you get the idea. Yeah, we want to be competitors, play hard, and we want to have the joy of the game, the joy of life. Now, there are some things I don't like about being a head coach or competition, that sort of thing. So we have this Christian message. Hey, we're all equal under the Lord. We love each other. And guess what? There's also very real variables in football. Hey, best player is going to play. We're going to go out and we want to win. Okay. And I've lost a lot in my life. I've won some big games. I've won in other areas of my life. I've lost. It's not the winning and losing. Am I going to lose again? Of course I am. And you're going to win? Sure, hope so. But like Coach Pete said when he was at University of Washington, Coach Peterson, is the only 3 things that you can control: attitude, effort, and this is the one that always got me with him, and preparation. Okay, so we're going to prepare to win, to be the best we can, and all those things. And yeah, losing. we as coaches always say that. I don't love winning as much as I hate losing. Losing is no fun. It wrecks your weekend, and then by Monday or Tuesday you start getting back together. But we're going to prepare to win, and see where the pieces fall after that. So
when I was in high school, my sophomore year, we always had like mottos to our team. So my sophomore year, Aaron Mall, who's over at Seattle Prep now, he said our goal that year was grit, and it was God relentlessly instilling truth. And so that was something that even in the fourth quarter of a game, you're down by 7, you knew, okay, well, we're down by 7. How are we going to dig our way out of this? And how can we instill our will on someone else, and so on and so forth, right? So it always had a meaning. Do you guys have anything like that you have as a pillar of your team, that you're like, guys, this is going to happen. Here's how we're going to face this adversity.
I've had lots of mottos through the years. The 212 degrees, whatever. That's when the water boils. At 211, it doesn't. Right now, we're just talking about setting a foundation, and loving each other. We as coaches, I expect our coaches to teach, not necessarily yell. There are times when you need to light somebody up, and usually that has to do with if they're treating somebody else on the team poorly. And again, attitude and efforts are always going to be something that we look at there. Yeah, but there'll be more that comes to mind here in just a second. But hey, we're trying to love each other.
Amazing. What about recruiting? Because it's got to be new to you, right? You have to go out and you have to try to fill the rosters, right? So of course people are coming to you and they want to join the team, and that's a very popular thing. And you just described how you're paying around $4,000 when all is said and done per year, and they're getting the advantage of playing 2 more years of ball. But are you going and looking out in Idaho and Montana and Oregon on those type of places, or are you really trying to own in on Eastern Washington?
Great question. Ultimately, we want to be the Mid-Columbia team, this whole Tri-City up to the Yakima Valley. And that's how we've been selling it. And we've had kids from Yakima to Walla Walla, Hermiston, to Moses Lake. Kind of one quick story about the kid close to Hermiston. when I talked to Coach Sandberg, he's the head coach at Whitworth. I said, hey, can you help me with some things here? Just give me some perspective. And when he found out that we didn't have dorms and some kids are going to have to commute and so on. Well, we had a kid commuting basically from Hermiston, about 35 miles away. And so then I've never had this excuse for not making practice, but it kind of makes me laugh. So he calls me probably 2 hours before practice. His family, by the way, his family is related to Carol Burnett, the comedian. Anyway, they're big cattle people down in Oregon. He says, Coach, I can't make it. A fence broke and our herd is in the middle of the highway. So they have the family emergency, need to take care of their multi-million-dollar cattle industry there. So it was kind of fun. Yeah, the recruiting, it's been really amazing. A couple stories. I was down at the Fellowship of Christian Athletes summer camp in Nampa last June, and my brother and sister-in-law are the directors of campus or for Fellowship of Christian Athletes here in the Tri-City area. Anyway, they introduced me to the regional director of Eastern Montana. He goes, he said, tell me your story. And I tell him a little about the school. And he goes, I have a guy. And within 2 weeks, he was here. He had been recruited by some of the Frontier League schools, just didn't feel like that's where he's supposed to go. And then Levi Taylor, all of a sudden 2 weeks later, he's in the Tri-Cities. We have kids from Stockton. We have kids from Florida. We just had a kid show up from Missouri last week. It's amazing. They're kind of recruiting themselves. With that said, we've made 3 or 4 trips up to Spokane, talked to different schools up there. We have a much larger Spokane contingent this year. Kids from Lewis and Clark, and a couple kids from Rogers, Mount Spokane. We have a couple kids from the west side, kid from Linwood, one's from Maple Valley. So they're trickling in. And again, I think we're going to be about 75 to 80 players this year. Kind of a funny story. Last year, I said we started with 47 players. We had 12 linemen total starting the year out. And that's not just offensive linemen. That was O and D linemen. And the last game, we played 7 games against Eastern Oregon. We were down to 6 linemen. We had safeties coming up and playing the defensive end and stuff. It was fun. And the kids' passion for the game was just outstanding. But hopefully we have a few more linemen this year, and we're going to be able to compete. So
that's good. That's really, really good. And it sounds like, from what you were saying, you guys were competitive in every single game, which is minus Whitworth. But that's extremely impressive. And that's something that, when you're talking to the kids and you're saying, hey, we're setting a foundation, X, Y, and Z, we're still competitive in every single asset. How hard is that? When you took the job and you knew, hey, we're going into this year, did you expect to be that competitive right off the bat? Or did you look at it as more of a, we're going to be building?
The answer is yes. It's both. Yeah. I don't know. I even when we played the Florida Gators in college, I still thought we had a chance. Yeah, we didn't, by the way. We lost 69-0. But as a competitor, you always think you're going to go, well, if this goes right and this goes right, things will be good. But we knew we'd be up against it. But we ended up really getting some quality athletes, and even more so this year, or in addition to last year. It's really been amazing. We're really getting some quality athletes. So
amazing.
We love our schedule this year. Last year was great, but we play Whitworth's varsity this year, and that just happened so they can. Anyway, we're playing that. That's my son's first game, but we play some Frontier League teams. We play Montana Northern out of Havre. They're coming to us. We're playing their varsity, or whatever you call it. I don't know. non-travelers. We're playing PLU here on a Thursday night. We're playing their non-travelers. We have George Fox. We're going down to Snow College, which is one of the top 5 JCs in the country. My understanding, they had 15 or 20 guys go D1 last year. So we're going to drive down there and take our
Where are they
swings.
located?
They are in Utah, and I'm not exactly, don't know what actual town they are. So, and we play a team from Ogden. I think it's a club team, but there's some rich people in Utah who have started a program for this age group where they're going around playing football. So, and Coach Camp down in Eastern Oregon was the one that set us up with this group. We didn't know anything about this league, so we got a game there. We have we're playing Eastern Oregon's non-travel. Well, actually, we're playing their varsity, but it's more of a scrimmage. We still haven't determined if it's going to be more like the NFL, where you come in and do 7-on-7 and front 8 and team or controlled, or if we're actually play some sort of a game. So we'll figure that out later. Yeah. We play Central Washington's JV at the end. So I mean, it's a fun little schedule. We have a team out of California that's coming up also. So yeah, it's a fun schedule, and get a chance to play ball.
Yeah, when I was looking at your guys' schedule, so I guess how I found you actually, the idea of this podcast is that we're going to be releasing every Monday, and then as we get into our busy season, obviously football, basketball, all that stuff, we're going to move these podcasts being released on Wednesdays, and then Mondays we're essentially going to give a sum up of what happened over the weekend.
Sure.
So we have, I believe it's 47 different college football teams at different levels. In Alaska doesn't have any, but essentially it would be the Pacific Northwest. So Alaska, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Utah, and we include Wyoming. And so when I was looking, I was like, okay, they play them, and a lot of them are interleagues, so you're matching them up. And then all of a sudden I was like, what's this? And I was like, I haven't seen this college before. And I click on it, and it's you guys, and I immediately go, well, this is interesting. And then all of a sudden I start seeing all these games that you guys are playing against opponents that are, somehow involved in this bracket I have and everything. And I was like, well, this is extremely impressive and very, very cool that we have this. And a couple researches later, contacting the college, getting your contact information, and here we are.
Yeah, it's really a fun ride. We're in a honeymoon stage. There's always going to be challenges going forward. I just want to give a shout out to our president, Bob Nash. That guy's a visionary, and he's not oftentimes with visionary. They have the vision, and then they don't follow through. Okay, well, this guy has a vision and then follows through. Two things. With Bob, he wants to bless our players. Our players tell us that our uniforms are drippy, which I guess means really cool. I'm 54 years old, so yeah, we have. Bob spends money on making sure that we have charter buses. We have 3 sets of uniforms: crimson, white, and anthracite, or whatever that gray is. Okay. And then we have white helmets and crimson. I mean, we look good, and Bob wants us to look good. So but he just loves those kids so much and wants everything to be top rung. I will also say this: we have some donors here in the Tri-Cities and surrounding area that are really blessing us, because it's a wing and a prayer right now, but we have some people who are really helping us, and the type of people who don't want their name out there, but who are blessing other human beings, and it's really incredible. And there's some things coming down the road with our school that maybe we can share in 6 months or so, but there's a lot of stuff popping around here.
I have 5 questions. I know you're a very busy man, so I want to ask you just 5 questions we have that we ask all of our guests if you got some time.
Hey, yep, go for it.
All right, number 1, you're at a gas station. You're about to go on an 8-hour road trip. What's your go-to drink and your go-to snack?
Oh, God. Lately, I've been going Diet Mountain Dew and salted cashews. I've lost weight in the last 6 months, so I would have said a Twinkie and a I don't know. You get the idea.
All right. Who's your favorite athlete of all time?
Wow, that's great. Favorite athlete of all time. I'm going to go with Steve Largent. That guy didn't have all the physical tools, but he was one of the greatest receivers ever in the NFL, and man of integrity, that sort of thing. So, and I'm sure I'll think of other guys later, but there you go.
All righty. 3, what's your favorite time of the year?
I love the fall, but I'll tell you, it's summer, and of course, I've been a high school teacher, so people saying, "Well, you get the time off." There's not a whole lot of time off, people. I mean, we're working, especially as a coach. But the thing I like about the summer is we get to slow down a little bit with my family and so on. But in terms of the football program, I love getting all the puzzle pieces together and then see how they fit, and that's what we're doing right now. Again, I think we've had 3 or 4 kids just call today that are interested, and there you go.
All righty. 4, what's your favorite sports team at the high school, the college, and the pro level? However, you cannot pick anywhere you've played or coached for.
Oh, very good. Okay, so high school, I don't know much about them, but I did go to the De La Salle game when Bellevue beat them, broke their streak. I still have the ticket. Oh, it was Questfield at the time over in Seattle, but I can't even remember their head coach's name anymore, but I liked De La Salle, and I'm not sure why, except for there was just a bunch of hype about it. They seemed to be quality dudes. College, wow. I'm going to go Dabo Sweeney. I like Clemson.
All righty.
And then professional, I'm a Seahawks fan to my core. And well, there you go. And people try to tell me I was a bandwagon guy a couple years back. I go, I have a garbage can from when I was 10 years old, people. I had the cool Letterman's jacket when I was 8, 9 years old, cheap plastic sleeves and all that.
No, that's a Seahawk fan through and through.
Yeah.
All right. 5th question. Do you listen to country music at all?
I do.
Okay, so you know who Luke Combs is?
I do.
He has a song called Doing This. And right at the beginning, it starts off and it said, someone asked me once in an interview, what was it like growing up? Where'd you go to school? And what would you do if you weren't doing this? So my question to you is, if you weren't a coach, if you weren't starting up a program here, what would you be doing?
Oh, specifically, I don't know, but it would be engaging people, ministering to people. I love relationship, and I love to see people get better. And football is just the means in which to do it. I tell people, to me, again, I want to help 18 to 22-year-old young men. To me, football is like the cute little girl who invites the boy to youth group. Okay. People want to come to our college. Our young men want to come to play football. They want to go to church or youth group to be with a little girl. Okay. It's an avenue to help build relationships and build young men. And so whatever I'd be doing, it would be something where I could do that and help others out. And not because I'm a saint, I'm far from that. It's just I feel like the Lord has blessed me, and Jesus said something, but I'll quote Superman. Who much is given, much is required. With great power comes great responsibility, and that's always in the forefront of where I'm very grateful for the blessings that I've been given.
I can see that, and I can tell you're doing something that I think is going to change Washington, and I hope more schools see what you're laying down in terms of, again, that word foundation, and we can hopefully get some more teams like that around here, because it's going to be very impressive to see how this grows.
Hey, something about foundation I wanted to say also. I heard this in a sermon a couple years back. I don't know if it's true. Maybe you can do some research for me. Supposedly at Notre Dame each year, so a new recruit, a new player comes in, freshman, and number five, this is Jimmy Johnson. Okay. And then they go through and they list, or they say every player that's ever had number fives for Notre Dame. And this guy was a senator, and this guy was so on. So one of the things we're doing with our players, talking about foundation, fellas, hopefully, 30 years from now, they're going in. And Dante Blackwell, he wore this in 2023, and now he's a successful this, that, or the other. And hopefully, more importantly, maybe they'll just say, you know what, he's a good husband and he's a good father. If we can get there, a lot of things are going to go much better in our world. So